Genesis is the foundation. God creates order from chaos and gives humanity a mandate: be fruitful, multiply, steward, and exercise dominion. Exodus reveals that destiny cannot flourish in bondage. Freedom is the first requirement for purpose. Leviticus establishes structure. Holiness becomes the framework for sustainability. Systems without standards eventually collapse. Numbers shows organization and accountability. God counts, arranges, and prepares his people strategically. Growth requires order. Deuteronomy renews covenant. The power to build wealth comes from alignment, not self-sufficiency. Joshua demonstrates that promise must be possessed. Faith requires courage and action. Territory is taken intentionally. Judges warns of leadership decline. Without vision and accountability, nations repeat destructive cycles. Ruth shows the power of loyalty and positioning. Strategic alignment opens doors that effort alone cannot. 1 Samuel contrasts insecurity and obedience. Saul loses a kingdom through pride. David is shaped in private before public promotion. 2 Samuel establishes David's reign. Vision matures into governance. Leadership must balance strength and humility. 1 Kings reveals how wisdom builds wealth and influence. Solomon's request for discernment elevates the nation. 2 Kings chronicles decline. Drift and disobedience dismantle even strong institutions. Us Chronicles preserves identity and legacy. History is recorded to protect destiny. And 2 Chronicles emphasizes that national prosperity rises and falls with spiritual alignment. Ezra restores worship and foundation. True rebuilding begins with spiritual recalibration. Nehemiah rebuilds walls with strategy and resilience. Leadership requires courage under opposition. Esther shows influence in governance. Placement in the right position at the right time changes history. Job confronts suffering. Integrity under pressure prepares for restoration beyond loss. Psalms centers the heart. Worship strengthens leaders internally before they build externally. Proverbs teaches discipline, diligence, and wisdom. Sustainable prosperity requires practical understanding. Ecclesiastes questions ambition without eternity. Success without purpose is vanity. Song of Solomon celebrates covenant love. Relationship stability sustains legacy. Isaiah calls for vision beyond the present. Hope fuels endurance. Jeremiah speaks long-term faithfulness. True impact often outlives immediate results. Lamentations reflects on consequences. Ignored warnings eventually bring collapse. Ezekiel prophesies restoration. Dry systems can live again when vision meets spirit. Daniel models excellence in hostile environments. Integrity elevates even in foreign systems. Hosea portrays covenant faithfulness despite betrayal. Loyalty sustains relationship. Joel promises restoration after devastation. Lost years can be redeemed. Amos demands justice. Prosperity without righteousness is unstable. Obadiah warns against pride. Arrogance precedes sudden downfall. Jonah teaches obedience to assignment. Avoidance delays destiny. Micah defines leadership simply: act justly, love mercy, walk humbly. Nahum declares that corrupt systems will fall. Habakkuk teaches that vision must be written clearly and trusted patiently. Zephaniah warns that hidden compromise eventually surfaces. Haggai calls people to prioritize God's house. Alignment precedes prosperity. Zechariah reminds leaders that advancement is spirit-driven, not force-driven. Malachi reinforces faithful stewardship and covenant loyalty. Matthew presents the king and the kingdom. Multiplication and stewardship define authority. Mark emphasizes servant leadership. True greatness serves first. Luke highlights compassion and faithful management of entrusted resources. John reveals abiding relationship as the source of lasting fruit. Acts documents expansion. Unified vision creates unstoppable movement. Romans transforms the mind. Renewal precedes elevation. 1 Corinthians aligns diverse gifts into one functional body. 2 Corinthians emphasizes generosity and resilience in hardship. Galatians reminds that every harvest reflects what was planted. Ephesians establishes identity and spiritual authority. Philippians models joy and resilience in adversity. Colossians elevates work as service to Christ. 1 Thessalonians calls for consistency in holy living. 2 Thessalonians reinforces discipline and endurance, where Timothy defines leadership, character, and order. 2 Timothy urges finishing strong and guarding the calling. Titus emphasizes structure and sound leadership. Philemon demonstrates restoration and reconciliation in relationships. Hebrews defines faith as the foundation of unseen realities. James demands action. Faith without works produces nothing. Peter refines leaders through suffering. 2 Peter warns against stagnation and false teaching. 1 John centers everything in love and truth. Love is the primary blueprint for the kingdom. 2 John reinforces truth as the anchor of all relationships. Integrity remains non-negotiable. 3 John honors those who support righteous work. Relationship capital is the highest form of currency. Jude calls believers to contend for foundational truth. Protect the core principles of the kingdom blueprint. Revelation declares the ultimate victory. The blueprint is complete. One kingdom, one king, one eternal reign. The end is the beginning.